Okay, we're here at IHIF as headline media partners for Adjacent Spaces, and Eloise Hanson, editor of Boutique Hotel News. What have been your key takeaways?
Well, I was actually hosting a session at Adjacent Spaces. I interviewed David Brown, the CEO of Salt Hotels, and a key takeaway for me from that session was absolutely geared around people. And people has been a main theme at IHIF this year, particularly on the recent challenges that the industry is facing. The recruitment, the attracting talent, the retaining that talent, and the key takeaways from David's session is to be innovative, do pop-up concepts, attract new people by breaking down those barriers. Don't be prejudiced by age, by background, by context. So I think there's going to be some interesting employer-employee reshaping coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah, totally agree. I think it's interesting you say that, because when you mix in, one of my takeaways was technology and a seamless guest experience, and not necessarily replacing staff for technology, but I do think that that's coming. I'm staying at Numa Spaces, and I've had an automatic PIN check-in to the building, and then ultimately into the room. I haven't got a key card to access my room, so that really demonstrated to me some of the innovations that are happening, perhaps on the periphery of the hotel space, because this is a new business which is focused on apartments. I've just had some funding, £500 million off LaSalle, so I'm watching that space. What else?
On the technology point, I sat down with Hubert Viriot, CEO of Hotel, earlier today, and he was so truthful and honest about the future of technology, and that if you're not embracing now and you're not adapting now, you are going to fall far, far behind.
Right.
And the hotel industry is traditionally and historically behind the curve, particularly when you look at the short-term rental space and how they have that start-up mentality to maybe push the boundaries a bit further. And he is at Yotel, at the brand, they are deploying artificial intelligence to not replace their staff, but to let their staff, the crew, they call them, ease off so that they can actually do the jobs that they need to and serve their guests. So it's definitely going to grow.
Okay. And what big takeaway? ESG on everybody's lips.
Yes.
I think you did a couple of interviews as well. What were the key takeaways of that?
I actually sat in on a session. I believe it was called a deep dive into the KPIs of ESG, and there was a huge conversation around data and measuring, and it's the measuring part of the process which is a challenge, because there is no guiding, there's plenty of guiding bodies and frameworks for you to implement within your operations, but there's no, how do I explain this? There's no agreement as to which framework a business should be following. So key takeaway from that is to keep having these conversations, to collaborate more, to understand what tools you should be implementing, what resources you should be relying on, because if you're not embracing that data now, again, you'll fall behind the curve, and 5-10 years down the line, you will really, really struggle, because the demands are coming from the investment side, the lending side, the guest side, the development side. So start implementing certain tools now to start measuring your data, so that down the line you're not caught out.
Yeah, another takeaway for me was there's a lot of money chasing deals. I haven't spoke to anybody about distressed properties, and of course, there's a lot of money on the sidelines that was built up for distressed opportunities, and they're just simply not there. Deals? Did we see any deals announced? No. Interesting. Yeah,
surprisingly. Yeah. I did catch up with Luke Boschmans from Tristan Capital Partners, who have just acquired the Point A portfolio, and he said the exact same thing, that he is not seeing that distress out there, but there are opportunities. It's just that everyone is chasing
Yeah.
those opportunities. So competition is high.
Yeah, yeah. I've had a lot of conversation on extended stay.
Mm-hmm.
The extended stay market, I think it's interesting. You've got some hotel brands launching extended stay, economy extended stay, which is quite interesting with Wyndham,
Yeah.
with their recent announcement.
Mm-hmm.
What are the takeaways? Yeah.
Well, I actually spoke to Wyndham earlier today,
Okay,
Dimitri Manikis, and he highlighted Project Echo, which is their economy extended stay brand that they're rolling out in the US. Signed 50 deals, more to come.
Yeah.
And
50 deals in the States?
In the States,
okay.
just in the States at the moment.
Yeah.
I did ask if this is going to be taken internationally. He said of course, but the model has been developed and built for the North American market. So if it's going to move into Europe, he used the term Europeanized, or it needs to be Europeanized.
Right.
I think he made that up, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But that model needs to be localized for it to suit the European market. So until they get it right and sorted in the US, I believe it is going to develop further. But he explained that Project Echo was built for the industry, by the industry. Wyndham took a lot of time to speak with the owners, the operators, the developers, the guests, and understand their needs. And this economy extended stay brand is the result of those conversations.
Okay, you mentioned brand there. One of the takeaways that I've had, and there hasn't necessarily been a session here, but I think the value of a brand is going to increase. In that, there's so much uncertainty around, just generally, obviously, in people's days, that they want to hang on to,
Mm-hmm.
Something that is perhaps reassuring for them. And they trust. I think the value of trust is really going to come through,
Mm-hmm.
maybe over the next couple of years. So, outlook for the hotel industry, and dark clouds. Sorry, we're jumping around a bit here, but I think there are quite a few dark clouds that have been highlighted. So there's an element of caution. What were they?
The labour shortages.
Yeah.
We touched on recruitment and retention. That is very much a challenge, as is the inflationary market, and trying to adapt your business model to deal with the rising cost pressures. And it sounds as though it is inevitable that these rising costs are going to be passed on to the customer.
Yeah, energy costs.
Yeah. The customer will be willing to pay for that because they've been sat on a disposable income for some time. We've seen revenge travel come back with full force.
Yeah.
Demand is out there. There's just caution as to how long that is going to last.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's watch that.
Yeah. But otherwise, looking further afield, I think the outlook is positive. The recovery is here. I believe the American market is 3 months ahead in its recovery of Europe at the moment. So there are certain markets globally around the world which have already reached pre-pandemic levels, 2019 levels.
Yeah, the American market, they increased, the interest rates went up yesterday by I think 0.5 of a base point. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting time.
Mm-hmm. But otherwise, glad to be here. It's fantastic seeing people, and I certainly look forward to a long sleep when I get home.
Brilliant. That's great.